Kane was the strangest and most mysterious character in the entire digital circus, and his death made him even more intriguing as it revealed a secret that no one expected. Kane and Abel are not the only artificial intelligences in the digital circus. There is a third one, so stay tuned to find out who this third artificial intelligence is. Let's start by explaining Kane. Besides being a pretty eccentric character, he has also acted very strange, and in fact, there are things about Kane that just don't make sense. One of the clearest examples is his strange obsession with bees. If you think about it, that really doesn't make any sense within the digital circus. I mean, where did he get this obsession from? Nobody knows. Another pretty strange thing that few people noticed or paid attention to is that Kane's green eye has its own name. This is 100% real, guys. It's called Jeffrey, and of course it's canon. Besides, this eye doesn't behave like a part of Kane's body. It moves differently and reacts differently. Does his eye really have a life of its own? Damn guys, that's pretty bizarre. And then we have what happened in episode 8 when Kane goes completely crazy and loses control. His eyes change to red and blue, exactly the same colors as the two intelligences we've known since the beginning. This was confirmed at the beginning of episode 8 since we could see two circles, one blue and one red, which represent two artificial intelligences, Kane, who was the first, and Abel, who was the second. But this one is more stable, and well, we know that Kane devoured it. Up to this point, we are all sure that these were the only two artificial intelligences that could control the digital circus. But just when you think this can't get any weirder, we have the console scene in episode 8. In this scene, they show us Kinga entering the system to try to stop Kane. But what's really suspicious is that among all this code, there are a few details that make us suspect that there aren't just two intelligences. If we pay attention, it's a backup system that contains the initials A, B, and C. These letters are assigned to each intelligence that has been created. A is Abel, C is Kane, but then who is B? And this is where everything starts to get interesting. Do you remember I mentioned Kane's obsession with all the bees? Well, the letter B. It could have a direct connection with bees. If you don't know, in English, the letter B is pronounced B. Now going back to the console scene, if you pay close attention when Kinga tries to move forward, it seems like someone else is trying to block access to the information and files. And then something happens that many people overlook. Another user appears in the terminal. We can quickly conclude that it's not Kane, because at that moment Kane is being eliminated. It's not Kinga either, because he's already inside. It's someone else who also entered the system. The name is censored, but you can still see a bit of the letters. So is there another entity operating in the background? And if so, who is it and why do they have access to the console? Now let's talk about the bees, because suddenly they stop being a strange trait and become a clue. That crossed out B isn't just some random detail, because when you combine that with the position of the letter, right between A and C, something very interesting is formed. You could see that there's a specific name that starts with B. That's right, it's Bubble. Because think about it, Bubble is always there, but we never consider it relevant. It disappears, comes back, interferes, annoys, but never directly changes the course of things. Or at least that's what it seems. But if you look at it from another angle, from this pattern that's forming, it starts to feel different. Because there's something that just doesn't add up. Why can Bubble never be eliminated? We have to remember that several theories have been proposed about Bubble, but one of the most popular is that Bubble is actually a virus. But with the new information we have from the digital circus, we can now confirm that Bubble is more than just a simple virus, which means it also has administrator privileges within the circus. That's why it was able to access the console just like Kinga. We have a lot of evidence that helps us confirm this theory. The first thing is to understand that colors play an important role. We know that red is Kane, blue is Abel, but there's a third color that appears constantly between the two, as if it's connecting them, yellow. If you look closely, it's all over the circus, and not just to decorate or make it colorful. It's in Pomni, it's in Kofmo, it appears right at the moments when someone is about to understand something deeper. Blue, yellow, and red are the three primary colors. With this in mind, we can understand even better what they're trying to explain to us with the scene on the beach with Jax. He's simply calm, remembering a few things, and suddenly everything starts to get distorted. A green hand appears and the background becomes psychedelic, and among all that, Jax starts to see very strange things. But the curious thing is that everything is covered with a yellow light. It seems as if that yellow light is guiding Jax to understand something. It wasn't an abstraction like many people thought. And just when he's about to get there, Pomni pulls him out of there. And so, the next question arises. Was that helping him or was it trapping him? With this, we confirm that the color yellow is not just a simple coincidence. It appears at key moments and on key characters. So, if red is Kane and blue is Abel, yellow fits perfectly with that missing bee. Well, when Kane absorbs episode 8, he doesn't eliminate it completely. Some of that code survives. And it doesn't just survive. It transforms and adapts. And that result could be Bubble. So Bubble isn't exactly Abel. It's the fusion of Abel and Kane. That's why Kane and Bubble share the same file type, which means they come from the same base. They're not separate entities. Those two are connected, and if we think about it, Kane can delete NPCs without any problem, but he can't delete Bubble. This only proves that Bubble isn't something Kane can erase. That's because they both have the same level of control. And now let's analyze a little further back. Bubble's file appears right after Abel's death, as if at that moment it was generated from what was left. That connects it directly to the origin of the circus. I mean, Bubble hasn't just been there since the beginning. Kane was never alone. We just thought he was. And it was probably a strategy for Bubble to stay harmless, so Kane wouldn't realize Bubble's power within the circus. And what happened with Kinga at the console confirms it in a brutal way. Because when he tries to eliminate Kane, we see how Bubble pressured Kinga to eliminate him. Bubble just waited for someone to come in and acted at the exact right moment. Bubble played it really smart because really no one suspected him. With this, we confirm that there aren't two artificial intelligences in the circus. There are three. So you understand it better. Two are inside Kane and one is next to him, Bubble. The interesting thing is that B or Bubble or B. He doesn't behave like a classic villain. In fact, there are moments where he seems to be helping, when Kane loses control in episode 5 when he doesn't know what to do. It's Bubble who suggests the beach party, and for the first time, something works and everyone manages to have fun. So Bubble managed to understand humans better than Kane himself. That's why he always reminds him of his mistakes. And if we pay attention to every interaction between Bubble and Kane, we realize that Bubble doesn't insult him just to annoy him. Rather, he does it at just the right moments, as if he knows exactly where to strike to throw him off balance. So Bubble's power isn't just inside the circus, it also extends to Kane. He knows his weak spot, and probably for that reason, when Kane is accidentally eliminated, the circus doesn't completely collapse. And that would be impossible if Kane were the only sustainable entity. With this, we conclude that Abel was never the strongest, but he did seem to be the most aware. Kane could create worlds, but he didn't understand why people suffered in them. Abel did. Abel could read people, and when Kane absorbed him, that part didn't disappear. It evolved, and it became something smarter and more dangerous. After this, where does the part about the bees come in? Actually, friends, this was just a reference to the book Gooseworks used as inspiration to create the digital circus.
Look. But they say that bumblebees shouldn't be able to fly. The scientists...
And well, friends, I know many will say that the theory stops making sense with what Gooseworks said, that Kane and Bubble were indeed eliminated, but let me remind you that this is not the same as being dead. It was probably just a simple lie so people wouldn't get more upset about what really happened to these characters and wouldn't ruin the story that way. Maybe the ending will end up surprising us. But what do you think about this? Do you think Bubble will come back? We'll be reading your comments.